History. This documentary is about the capital and largest city of Senegal. For other uses, see Dakar, disambiguation. The city of Dakar is a member of the Organization of World Heritage Cities, and contains several landmarks. One of the most notable is Doocumentry's twin hills located in Ouakam commune. The hills are the only high ground in the city, providing views of the entire area and sweeping views of the city. The first hill is topped with Mamel's lighthouse built in 1864. The second hill has the newly completed African Renaissance monument built on top, which is considered the tallest statue in Africa. 20. Other landmarks of the city include the Medina Corridor located in Medina commune. Medina is originally built as a township for local populace during the French colonial era. Today it is a traditional commercial center packed with tailors' shops. The most notable street market is Sambadoun, which is also a major tourist attraction. The corridor also houses Dakar Grand Mosquat, the heart of the commune, which is built in 1964 and one of the prominent landmarks of the city. Beach in Dakar. Dakar is flanked by two small islands, Ile d'Angor and Ile de Gorée. The former is on the northern shore of Ngor commune with beaches providing attractions such as surfing. Ngor commune also has other popular beach resorts such as Plage de Ngor. 23 Ile de Gorée, formerly a slave island, is today a UNESCO World Heritage Site which preserves the colonial-era architectures and facilities. The notable places on the island is Gorée Memorial, which is a memorial for the slaves, and the House of Slaves, which is a museum dedicated to the Atlantic slave trade. Today, the island is also hosting the art scene of the hundreds of local artists who line up their works at the outdoor exhibitions. Some other notable places include Lion Mausoleum, which entombs the founder of the Layin Sufi Tariqa, Palais Presidential, which is the seat of the government constructed in 1907, 26, Place de l'Indépendance, which is the central square of Dakar, Dakar Cathedral, and Cheikh Anta Diop University, also known as the University of Dakar, which was established in 1957. Not to be confused with Bangladesh's capital city Dhaka. Dakar, English, DKR, French, Dhaka, Wolof, Dakaru, 6, is the capital and largest city of Senegal. The city of Dakar proper has a population of 1,030,594, whereas the population of the Dakar metropolitan area is estimated at 3.94 million in 2021. The area around Dakar was settled in the 15th century. The Portuguese established a presence on the island of Gorée off the coast of Cap Verde and used it as a base for the Atlantic slave trade. France took over the island in 1677. Following the abolition of the slave trade and French annexation of the mainland area in the 19th century, Dakar grew into a major regional port and a major city of the French colonial empire. In 1902, Dakar replaced St. Louis as the capital of French West Africa. From 1959 to 1960, Dakar was the capital of the short-lived Mali Federation. In 1960, it became the capital of the independent Republic of Senegal. The Cap Verde Peninsula was settled no later than the 15th century, by the Lebou community, an aquacultural subgroup of the Wolof ethnic group. The original villages, Ouakam, Ngor, Yop and Han, still constitute distinctively Lebou neighborhoods of the city today. In 1444, the Portuguese reached the Bay of Dakar. Initially as slave raiders, peaceful contact was finally opened in 1456 by Diogo Gomes, and the bay was subsequently referred to as the Angra de Bezeguish, after the name of the local ruler. 10. The Bay of Bezeguish would go on to serve as a critical stop for the Portuguese India armadas of the early 16th century. where large fleets would routinely stop, both on their outward and return journeys from India, to repair, collect fresh water from the rivulets and wells along the Cap Verde shore and trade for provisions with the local people for their remaining voyage. 10. It was famously during one of these stops, in 1501, where the Florentine navigator Amerigo Vespucci began to construct his New World hypothesis about America. The Portuguese eventually founded a settlement on the island of Gorée, then known as the island of Bezeguish or Palma, which by 1536 they began to use as a base for slave exportation. The mainland of Cap Verde, however, was under control of the Joliffe Empire, as part of the western province of Caire, which seceded from Joliffe in its own right in 1549. A new Lebao village, called Dakar, was established directly across from Gorée in the 17th century to service the European trading factory with food and drinking water. Gorée was captured by the United Netherlands in 1588, which gave it its present name, spelled Goeree, after Goeree over Vlakkie in the Netherlands. Citation needed. The island was to switch hands between the Portuguese and Dutch several more times before falling to the English under Admiral Robert Holmes on January 23, 1664, and finally to the French in 1677. Though under continuous French administration since, Métis families, descended from Dutch and French traders and African wives, dominated the slave trade. The infamous House of Slaves was built at Gorée in 1776. In 1795, the Lebao of Cape Verde revolted against Caire rule. A new theocratic state, subsequently called the Lebao Republic by the French, was established under the leadership of the Jop, a Muslim clerical family originally from Koki and Caire. The capital of the republic was established at Dakar. In 1857 the French established a military post at Dakar, which they called Dakar, and annexed the Lebao Republic, though its institutions continued to function nominally. The Seraing, also spelled Surin, Lord, of Dakar is still recognized as the traditional political authority of the Lebao by the Senegalese state today. The slave trade was abolished by France in February 1794. However, Napoleon reinstated it in May 1802, then finally abolished it permanently in March 1815. Despite Napoleon's abolition, a clandestine slave trade continued at Gorée until 1848, when it was abolished throughout all French territories. To replace trade in slaves, the French promoted peanut cultivation on the mainland. As the peanut trade boomed, tiny Gorée Island, whose population had grown to 6,000 residents, proved ineffectual as a port. Traders from Gorée decided to move to the mainland and a factory with warehouses was established in Rufisque in 1840. Large public expenditure for infrastructure was allocated by the colonial authorities to Dakar's development. The port facilities were improved with jetties, a telegraph line was established along the coast to St. Louis and the Dakar-St. Louis Railway was completed in 1885, at which point the city became an important base for the conquest of the Western Sudan. Gorée, including Dakar, was recognized as a French commune in 1872. Dakar itself was split off from Gorée as a separate commune in 1887. The citizens of the city elected their own mayor and municipal council and helped send an elected representative to the National Assembly in Paris. Dakar replaced St. Louis as the capital of French West Africa in 1902. 12. A second major railroad, the Dakar-Niger, built from 1906 to 1923, linked Dakar to Bamako and consolidated the city's position at the head of France's West African Empire. In 1929, the commune of Gorée Island, now with only a few hundred inhabitants, was merged into Dakar. Urbanization during the colonial period was marked by forms of racial and social segregation, often expressed in terms of health and hygiene, which continue to structure the city today. Following a plague epidemic in 1914, the authorities forced most of the African population out of old neighborhoods, or plateau, and into a new quarter, called Medina, separated from it by a sanitary cordon. As first occupants of the land, the Lebao inhabitants of the city successfully resisted this expropriation. They were supported by Blaise Diagne, the first African to be elected deputy to the National Assembly. Nonetheless, the plateau thereafter became an administrative, commercial, and residential district increasingly reserved for Europeans and served as model for similar exclusionary administrative enclaves in French Africa's other colonial capitals: Bamako, Conakry, Abidjan, Brazzaville. Meanwhile, the Layène Sufi order, established by Sidina Mohammed al-Imam, was thriving among the Lebao in Yafan in a new village called Cambairan. Since independence, urbanization has sprawled eastward past Pekin, a commuter suburb whose population, 2001 est 1,200,000, is greater than that of Dakar proper, to Rufisque, creating a conurbation of almost 3 million, over a quarter of the national population. In its colonial heyday, Dakar was one of the major cities of the French Empire, comparable to Hanoi or Beirut. French trading firms established branch offices there, and industrial investments, mills, breweries, refineries, canneries, were attracted by its port and rail facilities. It was also strategically important to France, which maintained an important naval base and coaling station in its harbor and which integrated it into its earliest air force and airmail circuits, most notably with the legendary Merman airfield. No longer extant. Battle of Dakar. In 1940, Dakar became involved in the Second World War when General de Gaulle, leader of the Free French forces, sought to make the city the base of his resistance operations. The object was to raise the Free French flag in West Africa, to occupy Dakar and thus start to consolidate the French resistance of its colonies in Africa. The plan had British naval support when fighting alone against the Axis powers. However, due to delays in the plan becoming known, Dakar had already come under the influence of the German-controlled will of the Vichy government. With the arrival of French naval forces under Vichy control and faced by stubborn defenses on shore, de Gaulle's proposals were resisted in the Battle of Dakar ensued off the coast, lasting 3 days, September 23 to 25, 1940, between the Vichy defenses and the attack of the Free French and British Navy. The enterprise was abandoned after appreciable naval losses. Although the initiative on Dakar failed, General de Gaulle was able to establish himself at Douala in the Cameroons, which became the rallying point for the resistance of the Free French cause. In November 1944, West African conscripts of the French army mutinied against poor conditions at the Thiaroye camp, on the outskirts of the city. The mutiny was seen as an indictment of the colonial system and constituted a watershed for the nationalist movement. On December 1, 1944, a massacre in Thiaroye occurred. Dakar was the capital of the short-lived Mali Federation from 1959 to 1960, after which it became the capital of Senegal. The poet, philosopher and first president of Senegal Léopold Sédar Senghor tried to transform Dakar into the sub-Saharan African Athens de l'Afrique subsaharienne, as his vision was for it. Dakar is a major financial center, home to a dozen national and regional banks, including the Central Bank of West African States, BCEAO, which manages the unified West African CFA franc currency, and to numerous international organizations, NGOs and international research centers. Dakar has a large Lebanese community, concentrated in the import-export sector, that dates to the 1920s, a community of Moroccan business people, as well as Mauritanian, Cape Verdean, and Guinean communities. The city is home to as many as 20,000 French expatriates. France still maintains an Air Force base at Yaffa, and the French fleet is serviced in Dakar's port. Beginning 1978 and until 2007, Dakar was frequently the ending point of the Dakar Rally. Geography: Dakar is located on the Cap Verde Peninsula on the Atlantic coast and is the westernmost city on the African mainland. Climate: the Dakarois climate is generally very warm. Dakar has an ocean-influenced hot semi-arid climate, Köppen climate. Classification: BSH, with a short rainy season and a lengthy dry season. Dakar's rainy season lasts from July to October while the dry season covers the remaining 8 months. The city sees approximately 495 mm (19.5 in) of rainfall per year. Dakar between December and May is usually very warm with daily temperatures around 24–27 degrees Celsius, 75.2 to 80.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Nights during this time of the year are warm, some 17–20 degrees Celsius, 62.6 to 68.0 degrees Fahrenheit. However, between May and November the city becomes decidedly hotter with daily highs reaching 29–31 degrees Celsius, 84.2 to 87.8 degrees Fahrenheit, and night lows a little bit above 23–24 degrees Celsius, 73.4 to 75.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Notwithstanding this hotter season, Dakar's weather is far from being so hot as experienced in inland Sahelian cities like Niamey and N'Djamena, where temperatures hover above 36 degrees Celsius, 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit, for much of the year. Dakar is cooled year-round by sea breezes. Culture: in Senegal, the traditional culture is very centered around the idea of family. This even includes the way that they eat. When it is time to eat a typical meal, someone will say kailak, which means come eat. Everyone will come together and sit around the plate and eat with their hands. Some famous dishes include sebu jaïdaïr, tabaudien, and lassa. The etiquette of people in Dakar is very simple but very vital. To not greet someone upon sight is to portray rudeness and oftentimes ignorance. Due to French colonialism, the children of Dakar have a unique school system. The school will get a break at about midday and return home to get some rest. Since the population is majority Muslim, there are daily activities such as going to the mosque at noon prayer and attending the mosque on Fridays. Music has a big influence on the youth, with famous artists like Darajay Family, Positive Black Soul, Akon Al Shiffai, who use their voices to represent the problems in their communities or raise awareness to moral values pertaining to religion. Dakar is home to multiple national and international festivals, like World Festival of Black Arts, Festival International du Film de Quartier de Dakar, Dakar Biennale. It was also the location of Taf Taf, an international artist residency program.